Hi everybody, Dr. Charlotte Norton here with you this evening, going live to talk about all things weight loss medication, answering your questions. So yes, pleased to be with you here this evening. So as I always say, I've got some questions that some of you've sent in beforehand, which is great, and I'll be answering those. But if there's any questions you want to ask, whether you're a patient of ours or not, whether you're on weight loss medication or not, whether you're thinking about it, any question isn't too silly. I'm sure I've been asked the question before, so do feel free to pop your questions here and I'll answer as I go along. I can see I've got some of you joining me, so that's fantastic. So yes, once again, I'm Dr. Charlotte Norton. I'm the medical director at the Slimming Clinic, and I've been working in the field of weight loss and obesity and overweight and weight loss medication since 2015. So yeah, gosh, going on 10 years now. So I've seen the evolution of medications and all the different types of tools that we've used to help people support their weight loss. So yeah, answering all your questions. So obviously, when we talk about weight loss medication at the Slimming Clinic, we have two major types. We've got the injectable medications. So that's the things we hear a lot about in the press: Mounjaro, Wegovy, Ozempic we heard about before. And then we have weight loss tablets as well. And all of these are fantastic tools to help support your weight loss endeavours. So that brings me nicely on to the first question that we've got, which is obviously there's been some releases in the press about the results of a new trial that was presented this week. There's been the European Congress on the study of obesity, and some great and interesting research presented there. And the SURMOUNT-5 trial is a type of trial where people were randomized into two groups. So these were people that were looking to use weight loss medication to lose weight, and people were either given Mounjaro, which contains the active drug tirzepatide, or they were given Wegovy, which contains the active drug semaglutide, and they compared the results. And what they saw from this study is the patients who were taking Mounjaro and who were taking, which is the drug tirzepatide, they lost on average more weight than those taking Wegovy. So the trial was over 72 weeks, so that's like a year and a bit, a year and 20 weeks. And the patients that took Mounjaro lost up to about 20% of their starting body weight, whereas those taking Wegovy, the results on average were about 13%. So both of those are still significant amounts of weight, but in this study, that level of difference between the two shows a statistical difference, which is what we talk about. When we look at trial data, that it wasn't just a spurious an observation. It was actually, there was a statistical difference. So we're seeing a little bit more weight loss with Mounjaro than we were with Wegovy. So obviously these were all patients who were either overweight or obese, so with that BMI of 27 and above, and they didn't have pre-diabetes in this trial. So that's the specific subtype of patients that were given this medication. So they also demonstrated that waist circumference decreased a bit more with Mounjaro than Wegovy as well. So some really positive findings there for the use of these medications in weight management. Sue, you asked the question, great. So do we find the same as these findings? So I think obviously we've been prescribing semaglutide a little bit longer than tirzepatide, and I think from what we've seen from our patients and what we know over the years is the medication you get the best results from is the one you tolerate the best, the one that gives you the most control over your appetite. So it's very patient individual. Some people don't suit the injections at all, they suit the tablets. Some people find they suit one form of injection better than the other. We do sometimes find that patients suffer with side effects from one of them that they don't suffer with the other. So it's hard to say, from the patients we have, because it's the ones that give you the best ability to control your appetite and therefore stick to a healthy diet and living plan that give you your best results. But if we look at our patient split, I think a bigger majority of our patients are using the medication Mounjaro at the moment than they are the medication Wegovy. However, like I say, it's interchangeable. Sometimes people start on one and move to the other because they don't tolerate one. So, and I think still losing 13% of your body weight, over time, which was the results of Wegovy, is still a staggering amount of weight loss. And we know that as soon as you lose over 5%, that there are significant benefits to health. So, achieving double that, into double figures with either medication is fantastic. So, but sometimes there are reasons why one medication might be better than the other. So with Wegovy, that we know that there's been published data and it has an indication for a reduction in cardiovascular and heart health risk. So for those patients who maybe are overweight or obese and have had a cardiac event or a stroke or a cardiovascular or heart issue, we know that Wegovy has been shown to statistically help to reduce your risk of cardiovascular events. So, sometimes which medication is best can vary, but both are showing, fantastic weight loss results. So I think one of the things that we pride ourselves on at the Slimming Clinic is whether you interact with us as a patient on an appointment basis, so you speak to one of our doctors at an appointment, whether you interact with us through our online prescription service, where a doctor looks at your clinical information through a submitted form, is that our experience with these medications and also understanding what the medical science is showing us, understanding your medical history, can help us pick that right medication for you. Because weight loss medication is a crutch. It's a tool to help you achieve your weight loss. I say this every time I do these lives. Wouldn't it be great if you just injected yourself and didn't have to do anything, and all of a sudden all the weight went? Wouldn't that be brilliant? But sadly not. You still do have to do a level of work, and to get your best weight loss results with these medications, you do have to make that change to where, what, and how you're eating. You do need to make some lifestyle habits so that this becomes a sustainable way of living for you, rather than just sort of a quick fix. And I liken it to things like using a nicotine pouch when you were giving up smoking. Using this tool to help you make the behavioral change to get you to your end goal. So we know that that's really important when you're using the weight loss medication. That being said, studies like this and the information that we get from other clinical trials with these medications are showing us that they are really helping to make that difference. And fantastically, taking weight loss medication, using medication to help support your weight loss has now become far less of a taboo. We've been prescribing medication at this company for over 30, nearly 40 years, I think, in fact, using weight loss medication to treat patients. And even 10 years ago, not many people knew that there was an opportunity for getting weight loss medication. Not many people, knew that it was even an option. So it's fantastic that we're not only now are people looking for the medication to help support themselves, but also looking for, the using the medication and not feeling worried about it, can talk about it, which is fantastic. One of the other questions that was asked beforehand was, does Mounjaro make you tired? Which is, it's not a listed side effect. It's not a common side effect in terms of the list of side effects that we talk through, but tiredness can come as a result of dieting. So when we diet, we tend to take we tend to put our body into a calorie deficit. We're taking in less energy. Some people obviously adapt their diets quite a lot, and one of the common things that people often choose to do is reduce the amount of carbohydrates they eat significantly. Now, carbohydrates are like the main fuel of your body. The glucose that comes from the breakdown of carbohydrates is the main thing that sort of fuels your body. And if you don't have enough of that, then that can sometimes also cause tiredness. It can cause mental sort of fatigue as well, because your brain needs to use carbohydrates as its fuel. So you need to think about that when you're putting yourself into a calorie deficit. So tiredness could be as a result from that. As a direct side effect of the medication, not so much. But if it is something that's persisting with the medication, then it's well worth discussing with whoever's prescribing your medication for you. Gillian, thank you very much. I'm glad you find my lives helpful. That's really good. Meg, you've asked, how would I know which dosage to start on when I look to begin my journey? So if you're brand new to weight loss medication and you're looking to use the injection, so Mounjaro or Wegovy, you must always start on the lowest dose, the first dose, because these medications work in the appetite control center of the brain to reduce hunger perception and make you feel less hungry and want to eat less. But they also work on the gut. They slow down how quickly food moves through your gut. So you need to start at the lower doses, because you need to give your body and your gut a chance to get used to that, a chance to so by starting at the lowest dose now, and to be said, the lowest dose doesn't mean you've got to get to the top dose before you lose weight. People start losing weight effectively from the lowest dose. That's why there is this regime. But yeah, you must always start at the lowest dose, and at a minimum you must do that dose for 4 weeks. So this medication is supplied in a pen, an injectable pen that contains those 4 doses. So your pen will last you those first 4 doses i.e. 4 weeks worth of treatment. And you must do those doses because that gives your gut and your body a chance to get used to the medication before you consider going up in dose. Whether you go up in dose depends on a couple of things. Number one, how you're getting on with the medication. Are you tolerating it okay? Do your guts feel good? Have you got any side effects that are lingering? And two, how in control of your appetite are you feeling? If you're taking the lowest dose and you've done your 4 doses, and you're not feeling any side effects, but you think at the moment, actually, do you know what? I feel really in control. I'm eating really well. My weight loss is going good. You don't necessarily have to go up in dose. You can stay on that same dose for another 4 weeks. There's no, your weight loss results come from what you're doing, and the medication is just a tool to help support what you're doing. So there's no rush to go up in dose, but at a minimum, you do each dose for 4 weeks and then you can go up. We also say to patients, and this can happen sometimes where people are buying the medication online without the support of somebody to review their journey. If you have a niggling side effect, if you are still feeling nauseous, or you've still got maybe loose stools, or you've still got constipation, or you're suffering with significant indigestion or gas, anything that isn't settling over those first 4 weeks that's troublesome to you, sometimes again it is worth continuing with that same dose for another 4 weeks before you go up. Because if you've got a lingering side effect and you go up in dose too soon, you might compound that, you might make that side effect worse, and that might then put you off taking the medication ongoing, and you might not continue your journey onwards. So again, it's just important to make that evaluation each time you think about going up in dose. There is no rush to get to the top dose. People are losing weight extremely well at all the doses along the way on the regime. So that's my advice there. Steph, you ask, are we still up and running? Absolutely. I wouldn't be right here right now. We are absolutely still up and running. You're able to access our service. You can reach out to us through we have an email, we have live chat on our website. If you are a patient, we have the messaging portal now within your dedicated members area of the or your patient portal. So yeah, absolutely, we are. And feel free, I talk about this again, obviously on our website, we display all our registrations, our CQC registration, the GHPC registration of our pharmacy, the GMC registration numbers of our doctors. So you can absolutely see that we're fully up and running, fully regulated and good to go. May, thank you. Do I decide myself when I go up in dose? So it depends whether you speak to someone. So if you are using the online prescription service and you're submitting a form to request the medication, if you're thinking about going up in dose, our form asks you those questions. So our system knows if you've had the medication before or not. So then it'll ask you some questions about how you're tolerating the dose, how your weight loss is going, and you have the chance to say whether you'd like to go up in dose or not. And then our doctors will review that and then make a decision alongside you. So through our messaging portal, sometimes the doctors might message you back, if you say, in your form how you're feeling, they can give you some advice. Obviously, if you're coming through our service on an appointment basis, then obviously you've got your appointment with the doctor to discuss that. And even if you're an online patient and you're not quite sure, feel free to send us a message through our messaging portal, or you could access an appointment with the doctor even if you've purchased online to discuss that. So our team of doctors are always happy to help you navigate the right thing to do. So a few ways to get in touch there. But I think my biggest message that I say to everybody is there is no rush. If you are in control of your appetite and you are losing weight, then the dose you're on is working for you. Another question I've had here is, what medicines can you not take with Mounjaro or the GLP-1 medications? So there's not that many. As a general rule, these medications are suitable for quite a large array of patients and medical conditions. One of the key things is if you are on treatment for diabetes, so this generally here we're talking about, obviously type 1 diabetes, but type 2 adult onset diabetes, and you're taking either insulin or you're taking another form of oral medication for your diabetes that lowers glucose levels, then you usually cannot take these types of medication. Now, I say usually because sometimes if you're not on insulin but you're on a type of oral medication for your diabetes, sometimes there is a possibility to have a discussion around changing your diabetes medications to enable you to have this medication. But for a get-go, if you're taking something that might lower your glucose levels, taking these medications on top could risk lowering them a bit too much and making you unwell. So that's one of the reasons. One of the other things we also are cautious of, obviously, if you're already taking a GLP-1, if you're taking a GLP-1 medication for diabetes, like for example, Ozempic, which is the diabetes version of Wegovy, then obviously you couldn't have the Wegovy on top. So you can't take those together. And there are some types of oral medications that need closer monitoring when you're on, and there's only a few when you're on these tablets, because again, as I've said, because it slows down how quickly the drugs move through your gastric system. If you're on a medication such as something like warfarin, which thins your blood and you need to keep the level, a very narrow index, we generally say let whoever is providing you with that medication know, and just be closely monitored when you start the medication, just to make sure you're still absorbing enough and getting good levels. The other thing that we always talk about is the oral contraceptive. So if you're a female in your reproductive years and you're using the oral contraceptive, we say that each time you start a dose and go up a dose, to use additional contraception, just again, because with that slowing down of absorption of the medication, there could be a small risk of it not being absorbed as properly, and therefore affecting your contraception. But otherwise, generally, there are only a few medications where you have an issue. Again, whether you come through to our service as an appointment or you complete our online request form, just let us know any medication that you're on. And if the doctors think actually you should just make sure that's monitored a bit more closely or whatever, then they'll absolutely have that dialogue with you and advise you. Lisa, you've asked, can I ask what your delivery times are, please? Yeah. So again, it's very much depends. If you come through as an appointment and speak to one of our doctors, obviously at the point of your appointment, obviously the doctors make the clinical decision on your suitability for the medication and can write your prescription there and then. And then for the GLP-1 medications, it's sort of 24 to 48 hours. We endeavour to get the medication to you. Obviously, there's a few bits like signing the consent form, etc. As long as you do all your bits and bobs, which the team can guide you through, then it should be within that 24 to 48. If you fill in your form online, obviously that then needs to be reviewed by the doctor, which is usually done within we aim to get that done within 24 hours. If you're submitting the form, obviously, if it's completely filled, because we do ask for a little bit of medical evidence, as long as we've got everything from the point the doctor then reviews the form, again, it should be within that 24, 48 hours. So, we endeavour. We recently had a bit of a backlog with a change in our systems, but we've completely overcome that now, and we're back to our normal times, which I say from the point of the doctor authorising your prescription, it should be with you within 24 to 48 hours. The medication, this is another thing about delivery, is cold chain. It's sent cold, so we send it with a special package which has got wool inside it with ice packs, because we want to keep it cold to the point it gets to you. So when it is delivered, it needs to be sort of collected within 48 hours really, so i.e. delivered to you and taken in from you, or if it don't get delivered, it gets picked up the very next day, because these medications are stored at a temperature of between 2 and 8 degrees, and when they stay at that temperature, that means you can use them up until their expiry date. Once they warm to room temperature, they're still usable, but a sort of clock starts ticking in the sense that you've got sort of between 4 to 6 weeks to use the medication, which is absolutely fine if you intend to use that medication straight away. But if you're ordering more than one pen, or you're ordering a medication thinking, actually, I'm going to start it in about a week's time, it's really important that you are available to receive delivery for the medication when it's sent. We use Royal Mail as our courier, so you always get a tracking link. And if you have any particular timeframes that you won't be around, just let us know, so we make sure we don't send it at a time where you wouldn't be able to receive it. So that's really important. So again, for the weekend, where obviously people may not be in and are out, obviously delivery can differ. Can weight loss medication affect your mental health negatively or positively? This is a really good question. And actually, we're seeing a lot of new and exciting information about these medications with mental health. Actually, we're seeing some really positive medical studies and reviews that are showing that actually these medications are helping to improve mental health, especially helping to lower sort of low mood and depression, and helping to improve people's quality of life and also overall well-being. Some of that is deemed to come from the medication's effects itself, but also to come from, obviously, when you're embarking on a weight loss program and you're doing well, it's a self-perpetuating cycle, isn't it? You're working really hard, you're taking your medication, you're adjusting your diet, you're altering your lifestyle, you're starting to see those results. Within those first few sort of 4 to 6 weeks, friends, family, people you might see start to notice it, and all of that as well helps to improve how you're feeling overall. When the medications first came to market, we're talking all the way back to Saxenda, or liraglutide, which was one of the first forms of these medications. There was some initial associations potentially between these medications and low mood, but as these medications have been around more and more, and they look at all the reported adverse effects and events that happen with this medication, there's been no clear substantial link between these medications and low mood and suicidal ideation. So as it stands right now, actually we see a positive effect on mental health by engaging with these medications, and we're seeing some real positive results in addictive behaviours as well. Again, these are all just observations and some of the results we're seeing from medical studies, but for things like recreational drug use or alcohol use or smoking even, we're seeing people having some positive benefits in those areas when they're taking these weight loss medications as well. So it's a really exciting time to see the ongoing positive benefits these medications can bring alongside their weight loss results. What's your recommended time frame to allow noticeable weight loss? So Meg, this varies, and I hate saying that because everybody asks me this, and sometimes it depends where you're starting from. But honestly, I think usually when you're embarking on a weight loss program, especially in that first month to two, you notice that you get that lovely water shift as you first start, and we tend to aim for patients to be achieving 1 to 2 pounds, so around a kilo a week. So I think within that first 12 weeks, you should definitely be feeling like you've lost a substantial amount of weight that's starting to make a difference, starting to maybe reduce your reducing down to that next clothes size. We do audit and look at the results of our patients. Every 12 weeks we look to see that patients are achieving and getting towards that sort of 5% weight loss, and we are seeing that many patients on these medications are achieving that. So yeah, I would say in a cautious way, because everybody is different, I think in that first 3 months of treatment, you should really be starting to notice and feel the positive effects. Now everybody's got a different journey, everybody starts from a different weight. There are some people that lose weight in peaks and troughs, like have a really good couple of weeks, then it slows and it goes again. Obviously women, where we have monthly cycles, that can sometimes impact weight loss trajectory. There can be a week or two of the month where the results don't look as good because of water shifts and changes, but actually it's still ongoing. And there are some people that are a solid 1 pound a week and they continue like that their entire journey, but they get there. It really doesn't matter as long as the weight's coming off and you're going in a positive direction. So I hope that answers that for you. Another question we had before was, I work shifts. When should I take my medication? Again, a good comment. So these medications work for a week, which is why you inject them once weekly. So with the weight loss injections, it really doesn't matter whether you work day or night shifts, the effect of the medication should be there. If you take one of our weight loss tablets, which have a different mechanism of action, they work for about 8 to 12 hours, then it's worth adjusting when you're taking those to cover your night shift. If you're the sort of person, and I've done night shifts in the past, so I am this type of person, that snacks during the night because you're tired, you don't want to be awake, your body searches for sugar to keep you awake. So night times can be a really hard time to diet. So if you want the positive effects of the appetite reduction overnight and you're taking the weight loss tablets, I'd recommend adjusting the dosage time to cover you at night time. But again, trying to ensure that you keep, if you work backwards from the time you wish to go to bed, so if you're going to go to bed at 9 a.m. in the morning after your night shift, then you don't really want to be taking it much later than 9 p.m. the night before. So they're given that 12-hour window from the point you take the tablet medication to when you plan to go to sleep, because the weight loss tablets medications as a side effect can sometimes affect your ability to fall off to sleep. So that would be my recommendation for night shifts. I think I had one more question sent in before. If there's nothing, and please do ask me anything else here, was that because of the way the medication works in the gut, does it negatively impact gut health? So it's a good question, because obviously we are affecting the transit of food through the gut. But in terms of actually having a demonstrable effect on the gut flora, because when we talk about gut health, one of the things that's important in gut health is actually the bacteria that lives in the gut. So your gut is full of bacteria. We hear it on good bacteria and bad bacteria, which has a really important role. And actually the study of the gut health, gut microbiome, which is the term for all the bacteria and that live in the gut, is rapidly evolving. We're seeing some fantastic results on the impact of improving the good bacteria to bad bacteria ratio in the gut. So no, it should not have an effect necessarily on the gut bacteria in terms of the medication. What was more likely to have an effect on the balance of gut bacteria is what you eat, because we know that we feed our healthy bacteria, and a diet that's high in fibre. So fibrous things are our fruits and vegetables, our whole grain varieties of bread, pasta, rice, pulses, grains, all of these things, beans, are the sort of fibre that feed the good bacteria. Now, with these weight loss medications that slow down how quickly food moves through your gut, you don't want to be taking a huge dump of fibre, because obviously in one big go, because you might find that gives you some side effects. So it's important to sort of put the fibre throughout each of the meals you have throughout the day to feed that good bacteria, but be mindful of, people sometimes find, even in the whole grain variety, if you have a bowl of pasta or rice, you can sometimes find that sits a bit heavy in your gut as a side effect of these medications. So again, it's just looking at the portion size of those and varying them out. But actually, the negative impact on the gut is more likely to come if you're not eating a healthy and varied diet to feed your bacteria, not drinking plenty of water to keep hydrated, than the actual. And we know there are medical studies and associations between actually having better populations of good gut bacteria can have a positive effect on weight loss endeavors. So it's well worth thinking about looking after your gut. And again, prebiotics, probiotics, we talk about prebiotics, the things that you take like a Yakult drink or that kind of thing. Probiotics, the things that you feed the gut bacteria, like your fibers as well. So Janet, Lottie, are you able to give information on the financial implication of these medications? So, Janet, I don't know what you exactly mean by the financial implication. If you mean cost, the cost of the medications is widely available on our website. You can see the cost of engaging with our service and buying the medication online. These medications are they're in the private sector, so obviously you have to pay for them, and they are expensive. They are newest drugs to market, and they come in these pre-injectable pens. So absolutely, there is a financial consideration if you look to embark on these medications in the private sector. The NHS is looking at small cohorts of patients where they're looking to potentially treat, but for the vast majority of people that would be looking at these medications at the moment, it does fall within the private sector to source them. So yeah, if you embark on the weight loss program and you're going to use these medications to help you achieve weight loss and maintain that weight loss, then yes, there is a financial implication, and you will be paying for the medication. So again, that has to be a financial investment that you consider before embarking on it. What I would say, and of course I'm going to say this, but I'm going to say this as a doctor, is that if you've tried many ways to lose weight previously, if you've tried different diet plans, if you've invested in different diet clubs, if you've tried the gym or tried things, actually over time, there can be a lot of money spent in the diet sector on different things. One of the things that I can confidently say is that these medications are working very well to help support people's weight loss efforts. So if it is possible for you, and you want to embark on the medication, I would say that they are a useful tool, and it should and hopefully would be a good investment in yourself for helping to improve your weight. Because as I say on these lives each time, if losing weight was just about the aesthetic, doctors wouldn't say care. Of course we'd care, but everyone's free to look and as they should so wish. The reason as medics and doctors and clinicians we want to help people lose weight is we know the implications to the body of being overweight for a length of time, and everybody wants to live a healthy long life, don't they? So that would be my my comment on that. So thank you everybody for joining me again. Some great questions, and hopefully some of the answers I've given have been helpful for you. If you're watching this not live, but you've got any questions about what I've asked, then please do put a comment and we'll answer it. I've been reminded there, absolutely, I've nattered away and forgotten to say that at the moment we have a free postage and packaging offer. So if you use the code MAYLIVE as shown here on the screen up until Friday, that will take away the cost of postage and packaging for any weight loss treatment that you request on our website through our online channel. So absolutely, that's there for you again if you're thinking about it. And as I say, fill in the form if you're not taking the medication before or unsure about dose, etc. Fill in the form with all your information. Our team of doctors, very experienced, will absolutely help support you make the right choice. So thank you everybody for joining me this evening. Thank you very much there, Elizabeth Jane. I'm glad you found it informative. Thank you everybody for joining me on this lovely sunny evening. And for those of you on your weight loss journey, we wish you all the best and look forward to working with you in the future. Thanks very much, everybody.